Hey guys, welcome back to Bonsai Crazy. Now, you've all been following me and my giant sequoia bonsai masterpiece. Now, I've been having a look at it, and since I've done the trim, I think it was in December, one of the trees, the tips are slightly turning brown, and that's a very, very worrying sign for me. Whenever I've seen the tips turning brown, it means there's something wrong with the tree, and I can't quite figure out what it is, to be honest. The composition has been really good so far. When I did the trim, all I did was cut the main stem of the branch, leaving lots of the other branches untouched. So it's a bit of a dilemma why the tips of that one tree is turning brown. I do have a little bit of a white powdery stuff going on inside there. I'll do you a close-up zoom in a minute. But basically what I want to do is I want to trim back this these what are they called? I forget the name, but they're a succulent. So I'm going to take these back and trim them back. As you can see, you might be able to see there's some roots coming through. So I don't know whether they're from the actual giant sequoia or whether they're from these. So I'm going to have a real good sort out of the composition today. And so possibly I'm toying with the idea of putting my dawn redwood in there, my coastal redwood, because I've got that on the loft sitting there doing nothing. But it is quite prone to leaf scorch in the sun, so that's why I'm in and ahhing about it. This is in full sun all day long, so I'm a bit dubious about doing it, but I may do it just for this year to see how it works out. But I'm going to get on and we're going to trim this up now. So keep forgetting what this is called. It's called I can't remember what it's called. That's what it's called. But it's got some really thick roots on it. Not majorly thick, but thick enough to interfere with the tree and take the moisture out, and so there's not much moisture left. So I'm going to completely strip it, knowing that it's just going to come back. See these roots here, look, they're from the giant sequoia. So I'm not going to touch the giant sequoia, but what I am going to do is fill these edges in with a bit more cement, a bit more peat. Got it in peat moss, and there's lots and lots of snails under here too, which is not great. Sedum gracile, that's what it is. Sedum gracile. I knew I'd get there in the end. So all the little stones and stuff were part of the composition, so I'm going to save them. Just get rid of any of the sedum gracile, because it, like I say, is quite a dominant feature. It does look nice, but it is taking some energy away from the roots. Just getting rid of as much of it as I can, because all these tiny little bits, they'll all eventually just turn into a plant. So I've got to try and brush them away to get rid of them. So that's that side done. We'll do this other side quickly. This is the side I need to be a bit more careful of. So let me bring you in closer. Alright, so there you can see the tips of that one tree just going a bit brown there. And then if you come down, that's where the rock was, and I'm going to figure out whether that is sphagnum moss roots or whether see, I think that's all sedum. So that whole bunch there can probably just come off straight like that. And there's the roots to the giant sequoia. So I'm just going to do the back bit there. Just like I say, I just want to take it off because I don't want there to be any interference in this composition for a competing plant for these giant sequoia, because this whole composition really does mean a lot to me. It was the first composition that I could really throw my creativity into. And show you all what I have in mind in bonsai. You know, I'm not one of these, how should I say it? I'm not a typical bonsai man. I like every tree I see it as a composition, and I see it as a not a landscape, but I suppose it is a landscape in a way, but it's not. You know, I see the pot and the roots as being just as much part of the tree as anything else. So that being said, to me the roots are obviously the major part of the tree. They're what keeps it alive, obviously, but it all starts, the whole composition starts with the roots, and I try and build my pots around the roots and what would suit the roots and end up looking really lovely on the roots. You know, like bringing the whole roots in on the composition of the tree rather than just being an afterthought, you know, just something that keeps it alive. But that's just me. This is the first composition, like I say, that I've shown you all, and it's doing all right. The roots are, there's a mass of roots in it, absolute mass of roots in it. Sorry, my camera work is just rubbish, but see, all in there, all little roots. All the roots in just uncovered it all from the sphagnum moss. So I'm going to have to cover this all back up and make sure this is nice and healthy. And I'm probably going to look to definitely think about a repot for next year. I think the roots have really taken off and they're all around the composition, so they've taken up the whole of the pot. So, and that's just 2 trees, mind you. I've got another 3 upstairs, but one of them has pretty much died. I'm trying to keep it alive, but I think it's gone. So there'll end up being 3 or 4 in here. So next year, definitely, I'm going to redo this. So I'm going to get some peat moss now and cover this whole thing up with peat moss. I've got some sphagnum moss as well. I'm going to raise this level up here, so if the roots do want to grow, they can find their way up there. Yeah, let me go and get some soil. So right guys, I've got a bag of sphagnum moss and I've got some peat moss here. Controversial using peat moss, I know, but it is it used to be well used in bonsai. So what I'm going to do is quite literally just create a bit more front soil right there like that, just to cover up these little patches of root that are coming out. It's most important that I make sure that they're covered. I've got a rock that sits there, so I'm going to sit that rock back in there. Still going to give it a little bit of back with a rock. And just come round, really dig it in, really make sure it's in there tight. And then hopefully that will all hold on. Especially want to do around this back edge here where it all came out. So there's all the roots covered in. So we're just gonna leave that like that. put the rocks back that made up the stairs going up. Slight changes. It's not like the original. It'll be fun to put this composition back together and show you how it was at the beginning. If you want to see how it was made, then please go to my video. I'll leave a link in the description box of how I created this. I've got some long form videos, about 5 of them, on how I created it, so about 5 hours long, or I've got one 10-minute video, which is really quite good, I thought. Well, I thought anyway, but I don't know who else did. But it shows you how I created it, and yeah, go and see that. It's well worth having a watch. Now, pure sphagnum moss, I'm going to fill up all of this top part with lots of sphagnum. So if the roots do want to grow up, they can find the moisture up there, then they can. So I'm probably going to tinker around with this for another 20 minutes or so, just making sure everything's fine. But yeah, there's my giant sequoia. Before I go, I want to show you this because I'm actually very angry about it. I don't show my anger that much. I did make a video on this, but I was too rude about it and I couldn't put it up. Last year I went to the Heathrow bonsai show, and it's my own fault really. I should have what I should have done was wait for the man, wait for Dan DR from DR Bonsai. Big shout out to you, mate. Hey, expo coming up, mate, see you there. I should have waited for Dan, and for Dan to take me around and point out a tree and go, oh, that one's worth it, blah blah blah. But I didn't. I walked around and I saw this tree and I thought, oh, that's the kind of tree I'm after. That's the kind of look I like, and blah blah blah. So I got this tree. I'll just show you that. I got this tree and I thought it was lovely. It was all green and it was all looking all right. There was 1 or 2 spots. There was this like white powdery stuff on one of the leaves, and there were a couple of brown ends. That was it. I thought the tree was all right. It wasn't. Total root rot, absolute total root rot. I had 2 roots on the bottom of the tree, wrapping around the pot. It came in a big pot. The pot wasn't expelling water at all. It was, but it was retaining water. Like I'd water it, and then a month later it'd still be wet from that water. So I quite literally had 2 months of it, looking at it. It changed dramatically in those 2 months. So I thought, there's something wrong with it. I've got to take it out of the pot. I took it out of the pot. Absolute root rot. There's quite literally just this stump. That stump around there, okay, and there's 2 roots coming off it, and both of them were rotted. So I'm absolutely fuming about it, but I don't know what I can do about it. But I should maybe take it back to Expo, take it with me to Expo, and say, look, sorry, but I've had this tree since last year, since August last year, and it's just fucking dying, mate. You know, you sold me a tree with root rot. That's what I should be doing. I might take it to Expo, and if I see the people, I'll have a chat with them. But I paid £100 for that. I paid £100 for a sick tree, and yeah. So that's that. So that's my little update on that one. That's the giant sequoia sorted for a minute, and hopefully it will last this year, and those ends will start coming back in, and I'll have a really good growing season like it did last year. But I do think it's time for a repot next year, so I'm gonna get myself organised, get myself stuff that I need, and I'm gonna repot this thing next year, hopefully with a couple more trees, or at least one more tree. So that's exciting. All right, I'll see you later, guys. Cheers. Ta-da.